Hello, Dr. Coker here, and this is the story of Khenarthi's Roost from the Elder Scrolls Online. This is the beginning of the Aldmeri Dominion story series. Let's get started. When you arrive on the island of Khenarthi's Roost, a Khajiit named Razumdar asks you to join him on a vague mission, and to try not to stand out. He leads you to two people. The first is Dominion Commander Karaneth, who asks you to help with shipwreck survivors and to watch for a pirate gang called the Sea Vipers. The second is a scholar named Eilsil, who doesn't ask for help, but he says he was excavating ancient ruins and found a morning stone, which provides an endless supply of water. He was attacked by skeletons and fled the ruins. Aside, Razumdar says he wants help earning the trust of the locals.
Eilsil is most impressed with his newest bauble, but the undead are a threat to all of Khenarthi's Roost. If you want to, you could search the Temple of the Morning Springs, determine how to contain the dead there. Then the locals should see we came here as allies, not conquerors.
He also thinks it's a good idea to help the Dominion captain with her survivors. You first head to the ruins, and a scholar's apprentice named Gathwin says her master Ruralion is still trapped in the ruins with the undead. She asks you to protect her while she unseals the temple, so together you can rescue him. As you step foot into the ruins, a skeleton speaks with you.
Turn back. You aren't welcome here.
This thing controlling the skeleton says it wears bodies like others wear outfits, and it's already wearing Ruralion. Inside the catacombs, 4 pillars with moon drawings must be activated in a specific order before proceeding: new, waxing, full, waning. Before entering the next door, you ask Gathwin why Ruralion is such an important scholar.
The Dominion relies on Ruralion for his sound judgment. He's taught countless students the ways of magicka, including some of the Queen's own advisors. His role in the invasion is paramount for our future success. If anything were to happen to him...
In the next room, you find yourself in a courtyard, and Ruralion stands on a pedestal. When you speak with him, he says he is Uldor, and it's the same voice that spoke through the skeleton.
Why, I'm Uldor. I see your Dominion teaches you nothing of my people. I shouldn't bemoan your ignorance. You fools ended centuries of captivity when you removed the Morning Stone.
You demand he release Ruralion, but he laughs and begins a summoning ritual. You fight off skeletons while Gathwin disrupts the ritual. Ruralion begins to regain control of his body.
Uldor, get out of my body now!
He runs into the Great Hall and you follow him. Ruralion manages to force Uldor out of his body, then you disable the traps and speak with him. He says now that Uldor isn't sealed away, he plans on raising an undead horde and enslaving all of Khenarthi's Roost. It's imperative that we get the Morning Stone back. He hands you a few gems that can focus the Morning Stone and reseal Uldor. Gathwin steps forward and says Ruralion plans to trap Uldor's spirit in his own body and seal himself away, but she objects and insists on sealing herself away with Uldor instead. You decide which one enters Uldor's tomb with you. They willingly present themselves for Uldor to possess, then you use the gems to create a temporary prison for Uldor. Back in the Great Hall, the other scholar greets you and says they've recovered the Morning Stone, which will help keep Uldor sealed.
I'll ensure the Morning Stone remains guarded at all times. I should make a full report so the Dominion understands the danger of Uldor's capabilities.
With that settled, you head to the coast to search for the Dominion survivors. First, you encounter Dominion Sergeant Firion, who says a sudden hurricane is what caused their shipwreck. She also says healing potions nicknamed Glow Juice were on board and some have washed ashore. You run to the beach and gather some of this Glow Juice, then assist the survivors.
Tastes like sandals boiled in mint perfume. But if it knits my ribs, I'll drink the whole bottle.
Lieutenant Gellin dragged me out of the water. He'll want to know Sergeant Firion and the rest of the squad are all right. I think he said something about looking for shelter in a nearby cave, but I was still coughing up sand.
You head to this cave in search of Gellin. Inside, you find his body. He appears to have been killed recently and has wave-like patterns carved onto his skin. Back outside the cave, you find the sergeant and report that Gellin is dead. When you describe the markings and the interior of the cave, she says it sounds like a sacrifice and she'll need reinforcements. She spotted an intact Dominion ship nearby and asks you to reach out to them. You speak with the ship's quartermaster, and he agrees to provide reinforcements if you help him repair his vessel first. It turns out they're privateers, not Dominion, but Sergeant Firion says she'll accept the reinforcements regardless. She then offers a few of her skilled soldiers to help with ship repairs. You set off to recover missing parts the pirates have stolen. The quartermaster says you need to talk to the captain of their ship, the Prowler, who always repays her debts.
Due to your efforts, the Prowler is free to sail once the tide comes in. Those Marines did their part as well. I have no reinforcements, but I offer something better. I know who's killing the Dominion soldiers, and I know how to stop it.
She says the Sea Vipers are everywhere, and she thinks they're the cause of the storms. She refers you to a sailor named Mastingway. Mastingway says the Sea Vipers are Maormer, and she witnessed firsthand what they're doing.
Those filthy Maormer dragged my mates up and tied them to these serpent-shaped statues. Then they started chanting, and lightning surrounded them. That's when the storm began to form around the island.
She managed to escape, but noticed that they wear lodestone protection bracelets. You find some Maormer nearby and kill them to take one of these lodestones. With the lodestone, you were able to approach the serpent statues and stop the storm rituals.
Those sea vipers are insane!
Then you return to the ship captain. She's very thankful and says you and the Dominion survivors will always have a place on her ship. Now that you've finished assisting both parties that Razumdar introduced you to, you make your way to the town of Mistral to report back to him. He commends your efforts, then tells you the latest news in Mistral.
Mistral is the jewel of the southern seas, a free port with trade ties to half of Tamriel. Ambassadors from the Dominion arrived weeks ago to negotiate its admission into the Alliance. Unfortunately, things have not gone smoothly.
He says Khenarthi's Roost has an old treaty with the Maormer, which complicates the negotiations. He asks you to speak with a Bosmer representative, or Sylvanar, to find out how you can assist.
Ask around. I'm sure something.
Outside the office, you speak with the High Elf Vicereeve, who's furious about Khenarthi's treaty with the Maormer. Inside, you speak with the Sylvanar, and he says he can't even work with the Maormer treaty because he's been unable to acquire a copy of it from either of the two people that possess one. One is a Khajiit and the other a Maormer. The Khajiit, named Harani, says the Maormer are offended by the presence of the Dominion, and exposing the treaty would only make things worse. The Maormer says they've stuck to their end of the treaty all this time, they don't trust the High Elves, and their copy is on a remote island anyway. You tell the Sylvanar that you were unable to secure a copy, but he implores you to try harder.
I can't allow the Dominion's first act on Khenarthi's Roost to be one of conquest. I understand our mutual friend prefers the rum served at a nearby tavern. Perhaps he would have ideas on securing a copy of the treaty.
You seek out the mutual friend Razumdar once again. He says Khenarthi's copy of the treaty was stolen by a Maormer named Ulandil.
Someone needs to slip into Maormer Embassy, find their way past the guard, and rifle through Ulandil's private quarters. Oh, and do it without bloodshed that could provoke war with the Maormer. In case he was not clear, Raz is talking about you.
You poke around the embassy looking for a way into Ulandil's quarters. You find an unsent love letter from the guard expressing his feelings for someone named Zali, and in the other room you find a quill and parchment. You then forge a love letter from Zali to the guard, asking him to meet her somewhere. When you deliver the letter, he wanders off and you head inside Ulandil's quarters. Sure enough, you find the Maormer treaty and head back to Razumdar. He says to take the treaty to the Silvernar, who's now at the armorer's home with the Green Lady. You find the Silvernar dead and smelling of sulfur. Then, the Green Lady enters just after you.
You found him like this? What did you see? Answer me!
You have no useful info for her, and she becomes furious and swears revenge. You return to Hurani, the one who owns the Khajiit's copy of the treaty, and tell her the Silvernar has been murdered. She's enraged and accepts your offer to investigate. You read an incident report from the Mistral Guard and find 3 potential leads. Chasing the first lead, noises at the warehouse, you find a note that appears to be a coded message. The second lead was a suspicious apothecary. You find their ledger and notice orders for Daedric ingredients and sulfur listed with no names. Third, you investigate a Maormer ship, bribing your way into the lower decks. You find a secret compartment with Sea Viper paraphernalia, then head back to Razumdar. You present the evidence from all 3 to him, and the apothecary orders seem to be consistent with poison found at the crime scene. He gives you a sample of it to take to the Green Lady. You tell her about the poison and show her the sample.
No poison in all of Tamriel could harm my beloved. But this scent was on his body. Why is it out here as well? I can see it, leading away into the heart of this wretched city.
She says she can follow the scent, so you follow her. It leads to a room where a Maormer ritual is happening, which you disrupt, then interrogate the suspect. She reveals that she was the assassin and was ordered by Ulandil. You have no trouble finding Ulandil outside nearby and confront him with this information. He admits it and says he has nothing to fear since the Silvernar and the Green Lady are dead. When you inform him that the Green Lady still lives, he's suddenly terrified and he flees. Hurani advises caution in pursuing him as to preserve the fragile peace.
This does not excuse mindless slaughter. We are better than our enemies. You must apprehend him. Don't let the Green Lady cut him down like an animal. We must learn what the Maormer planned for Khenarthi's Roost.
You give chase and find him and the Green Lady in the embassy.
Move, unless you don't mind the spatter.
You have the option to convince her not to kill him by asking her if this is what the Silvernar would have wanted. Then he is taken prisoner, but either way, you head back to Hurani. She says a Maormer invasion is imminent, so she signed the treaty for Khenarthi's Roost to join the Aldmeri Dominion, and the Dominion will aid for their defense. Then a messenger arrives and says that Commander Karaneth requests your help at Cat's Eye Key, which is under assault by the Maormer. You offer to help, and the commander outlines a plan.
I'll coordinate Dominion forces from here, but I can't lock down this gate until the survivors clear out of the market. Send them my way. We need everyone able to defend Mistral on this side of the wall.
Villagers report that sea vipers are carving runes into the skin of those they've captured. Then you and Sergeant Firion lead a counter-offensive. On the way, you gather some intel on what the Maormer are doing via dropped research notes. One Khajiit says they've collapsed a mining tunnel, but he managed to escape.
Some high elf wizard tried to get in, so they collapsed it. I dove outside. Lucky me. The wizard tried to tell me something, but I couldn't hear him at all. He stuffed this paper in my hands and walked off. Here, maybe you can make sense of it.
Then he says there may be another entrance nearby. You find a trapdoor in a house that leads into the tunnel. Inside you find the high elf Eelsil from earlier. He says the serpent statues are storm totems and they harness energy from people with runes carved into them. He asks you to test a lodestone, which he believes can be used to stop them. It works, so he asks you to apply the same technique to all the totems in the tunnel before a horrible thing happens. But he won't tell you what the horrible thing is. Eelsil then speaks to you through a projection, saying that the Sea Vipers have captured a Storm Atronach and they're funneling all this energy to it in order to cause an explosion that will destroy Khenarthi's Roost entirely. He says you need to set the Atronach free by deactivating the 3 horns which bind it. Fleeing from the unbound Atronach, you find Razum Dar and together get to safety. Then he tells you Khenarthi's Roost is saved and you should speak with Captain Jamila to get out of here.
If the Vipers are here in numbers strong enough to assault Khenarthi, all of the southern seas are in danger. The Queen is in Auridon right now, beginning a royal visit. Raz would ask you to head to Volkel Guard and report to Watch Captain Astanya.
The ship Captain Jamila says she'll happily take you for free as you've helped her so much. You set sail for Volkel Guard in Auridon. And that concludes the story of Khenarthi's Roost. I hope you've had fun watching. Stick around on this channel. The next video in this series will be the story of Auridon. Until next time.